So welcome to everyone here. Today's Sunday feast class. I chose a couple of verses actually from the Bhagavad-gītā chapter 2.
Is that turned on?
Is it? Yeah, I guess my mouth is just not close enough. So I'll be speaking from chapter 2, texts 56 and 57. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-militandena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, text 56. I guess I'll just read the Sanskrit and just go straight into translation and purport. So, Dukeshvanu vignamana sukeshu vikataspriha vitaraga bhayakrodha stita dirmuni ichyate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of a steady mind. So this is a section of verses here at the end of the second chapter that Srila Prabhupada, Krishna is describing the Sita Dhir Muni, the sage of a steady mind. And he's encouraging Arjuna to be steady in mind. And so I chose this verse because with the current world situation, there's a lot of reason to be unsteady in mind. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety and panic going on because of threefold miseries of material nature manifesting themselves in a very powerful way. So it's important for us as devotees to remain steady-minded like sages and to take shelter of Krishna and Krishna's instructions here. So first of all, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada starts off talking about the ordinary muni. He says, the word muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a muni differs from other munis, he cannot be called a muni in the strict sense of the term. But a Sita Dhir Muni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary muni. So he's not talking about that kind of muni when he's advising Arjuna to be a Sita Dhir Muni. What he's saying is, the Sita Dhir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of created speculation. He is called Prashanta Nishesha Mano Rahantara, from Stotra Ratna 43. Or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculation and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna, or Vasudeva, is everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Siddhurava. So then, now Srila Prabhupada is going to talk about how the Sita Dhir Muni deals with distress. So he says, such a fully Krishna-conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. So that's, I always like that as a way of seeing miseries, because the miseries of the material world come all the time, right? Either it's miseries of our mind and body, miseries caused by other living entities, or miseries caused by the demigods, so, natural disturbances, bad weather, and things like that. So when these things happen, and there's always one of them going on, if not more, and usually several all at once, if you stop and think about it. But a Krishna-conscious person is not disturbed by any of these because he accepts all the miseries as the mercy of the Lord. So I thought that we could, I'll read a little bit more, and then after we'll meditate on the current situation with coronavirus and how is that the mercy of the Lord. So but before we get to that, we'll continue. So that was how the Sita Dhir Muni deals with distress. Now we'll look at how does the Sita Dhir Muni respond to happiness. So Prabhupada continues. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. So it's interesting. He thinks himself worthy of more trouble, but unworthy of happiness. So the Sthita Muni is a very humble soul. I don't deserve this happiness. I simply deserve more trouble. Okay, let's continue. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. So I'll continue now into the next verse. The next verse is 57. Yasarvatra nabhishnehas tatat prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati nadveshi tasya pragyat pratishita. Translation: in the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Purport. There is always some upheaval in the material world, which may be good or evil. One who is not agitated by such material upheavals, who is unaffected by good and evil, is to be understood to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one is in the material world, there is always the possibility of good and evil, because this world is full of duality. But one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is not affected by good and evil, because he is simply concerned with Krishna, who is all good absolute. Such consciousness in Krishna situates one in a perfect transcendental position called technically samadhi. So I'd like to draw your attention to this one line where he says, one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is not affected by good and evil because he is simply concerned with Krishna, who is the all-good absolute. So he's talking about how in the material world is full of dualities, like good and evil. But in Krishna there are no dualities. So the more our consciousness is materially absorbed, the more we're going to be disturbed by the dualities of life. And the more we're Krishna conscious, the less we're going to be disturbed by the dualities of good and evil, or good and bad, or favorable and unfavorable, or anything. Because there are no dualities in Krishna. In Krishna, everything is good. So when we're purely Krishna conscious, we're able to see everything as good and to be grateful to Krishna, because everything is his mercy and everything is good. It's kind of like I have this little, I'm always saying, I was just going around saying, it's all good. It's kind of my little mantra that I say to myself all the time whenever something happens. It's all good. Sometimes it's hard to see it that way, but if we just keep saying, yep, it's all good, then our minds will start to orient themselves in a way that we can actually see how it is all good. And it actually is all good, because Krishna is the supreme controller. So whatever happens, whatever the all-good personality of Godhead sanctions or arranges for us must be all good. So, yeah, and especially, I mean, it's true for everyone, but especially those who have taken shelter of Krishna, especially the devotees. So, yeah, I meditated a little bit on this coronavirus situation and how is it that is all good. And I came up with a few things. So first of all, one thing, and so I'll just bring up things that I thought of. I'm sure that you've all thought about this deeply, and maybe at the end you can also offer your suggestions for how it's all good and Krishna's mercy. But so I'll start with the first thing that I thought of was that we can be grateful to Krishna for creating this situation, because it's enabling us to appreciate many things that we generally take for granted, right? Like the opportunity to come to the Sunday feast at Alachua Temple and be with all the devotees. It's like, few devotees here now. We don't see all the regulars and all of our friends that, maybe we only see once a week. And there's no prasadam, so at least there's not a big feast like usual. So, we just kind of like expect these things to be there, and then when they're not, we're like, whoa, that was actually it's an amazing facility. It's an amazing service that the devotees offer to the community, just making this Sunday feast happen every week. And we can just come and, hang out with our devotee friends and do a little kirtan, hear a little sweet words, and take prasadam, and have an ecstatic experience. And now we're able, sometimes you don't know what it's got till you don't know what you've got till it's gone, right? So now many devotees are feeling it, and that's good, because when it all comes back, then we'll be like, yay, Sunday feast, full-blown Sunday feast again. So that's nice. And another thing that some of us take for granted is just that we can go to work. That Krishna has so kindly arranged for us, some kind of career or a job by which we can earn money and maintain our families. So many people are out of work now, and they don't have any income. The bills are still coming in, but the income is not. So, often we complain like the alarm goes off or whatever. There's many things you want to do in a day, and you've got to get up and go to work for several hours. And it's not a pleasant thing, but now that people can't do it, they're like, oh, dang, I wish I could go to work. I need to go to work again. What am I going to do now? So, we can appreciate that we have a means of livelihood, that we can, to maintain our families, to do our duties as householders, or to earn money to serve Krishna, to support our devotee community and projects. And also for those of us who are students in college or children who go to school, I'll bet you a lot of kids who usually don't like to go to school are thinking, when's school going to open again? So it's hard, you can't see your friends, and maybe some arrangement is there to learn online, but it's not the same, as you come to appreciate the experience of having a teacher in the room with you to show you how to do things and look at your work and correct it. And these are all like opportunities that we take for granted. So the current situation is hopefully enabling us to appreciate these things more, and that's always a good thing. Because often we expect a lot from others, but we don't appreciate as much as we should. Another thing that we can thank Krishna for giving this time to reconnect with the basic things, the really important things of life. Because normally we're so busy with our external responsibilities, with all those things that we just talked about, our work and our school and whatever, that we don't spend quality time with our families. Or, sometimes we don't even get a chance to cook decent, healthy, balanced meals for ourselves or our families. Or, we don't have time to read Srila Prabhupada's books every day, or even maybe finish our 16 rounds, or finish, good quality rounds. What to speak of chanting extra rounds. Or we don't sit down and do kirtan with our families on a daily basis. So these are all things that now we can do. There's nothing else to do. Just read Srila Prabhupada's books, do kirtan with, near ones, and or just rest, just take a break and take time out to reflect on life. So now that we're forced to put aside the so-called more important things, all the other things that we tend to give priority to, now we can actually do the really important things that should be the priorities normally. And to, it seems that this is going to last some time, so hopefully we get in the habit of actually, doing those things and get a taste for them again, so that even when we get back to work and school and whatnot, we can continue with our daily reading of Srila Prabhupada's books and daily kirtans at home and chanting extra rounds and things like that. And many of us are alone, so those who are single people who may just be in an apartment by themselves, they may be spending a lot of hours of the day in isolation, either by choice or by force. And so it's also a good time to just reflect on our lives, and what we're doing here, and where we're going in life, again, what our priorities are, and just kind of like revitalize and renew and reevaluate. So this, sometimes months can go by without really like taking time to sit and reflect on your life like that. And it's so important. It's really something that we should do on a daily basis, like at the end of every day before you go to bed, just recount the activities of the day or the activities of the week and see, have I gotten closer to Krishna today? What have I done today to, really please Krishna? And how has my relationship with Krishna deepened today or this week? And what can I do to get closer to him tomorrow? And just always think about life that way, because that's the ultimate purpose of life. This whole human form of life is just to give us an opportunity to revive our relationship with Krishna. So that takes time, just like any relationship, but especially with Krishna, because Krishna is such a great personality. We really need to set aside things and make time for Krishna and for our relationship with Krishna. So another thing that's positive and that we can be grateful for in this situation is that it's forcing us to be more clean. Prabhupada said that cleanliness is next to godliness, and Mother Mukhi was just saying that now we're trying to step up our efforts to keep everything really super clean, like cleaning the playground equipment and all that we don't usually think of cleaning, just let the rain kind of clean it or whatever. But to be super clean. Srila Prabhupada said that we will be known for being revolutionarily clean. And now even in the outside world, a lot of people don't even wash their hands after going to the bathroom. So now, people in general are just being more clean, or a lot of people don't wash their hands before they eat. So now everybody's being more careful, and the world is becoming a more hygienic place. And so it's very good, to wash our hands every time, before we eat, after we eat, anytime we touch our mouth or nose or eyes or whatever, and just keep super clean. And then not only in terms of personal hygiene, but also the planet, the environment is getting cleaned, because there's so many less cars on the road. A lot of industries have closed down. So many long flights have been canceled. So the earth also is getting a chance to breathe, which it needs. The environmental crisis has become such a big topic, in the past few years. Many people are very frightened of the environmental crisis and what that could lead to. So all the lockdowns and closures that are going on as a result of the COVID-19 it's really good for the planet. Not so great for some humans, but it's good for the planet as a whole. And another thing we're realizing is the interconnectedness of everybody on the planet. How one person in China, allegedly ate a snake that had eaten a bat or something like that, and somehow the virus was passed on to these animals to a person, and it spread all over the world so quickly. So we don't live in a vacuum. Our actions and our words affect those who are near to us, as well as those on the other side of the world. Now we're basically living in a global village where in a second you can post something on Facebook or Instagram or, and thousands of people can see it, and they can share it with thousands of people who share it with thousands of people. And so, if we put negative energy out or criticisms, then that can discourage millions of people all over the world. And if we put out positivity and Krishna consciousness, then that can also uplift people all over the world in a very short time. So just as this one person, whoever ate the snake, that sinful activity brought illness and fear to so many. In the same way, we have an example of one person whose pure devotion to Krishna brought hope and light to people all over the world. And that person is Srila Prabhupada, that he came to America and sat under a tree in Tompkins Square Park and chanted Hare Krishna, and by his pure devotion, the chanting of Hare Krishna went viral. It just like spread from one person to another person, and then they went to another country and it spread to more people. And it's like the pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita when Lord Chaitanya is traveling through South India, and he chants the holy names, and everybody who hears it becomes pure devotees. And then they go to their villages and they chant, and whoever hears them chant becomes pure devotees. And then they go to wherever they're from and they chant, and everyone who hears them becomes pure devotees. So, Srila Prabhupada basically did the same thing all over the planet. And we're reaping the benefits of that. So, the transcendental sound of the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is more powerful than any virus. And we really can't estimate the impact that the chanting of the holy names is having on the planet. And Srila Prabhupada said that this chanting of Hare Krishna is like the panacea, the solution for all problems. And that chanting the holy names also has the power to counteract the effects of Kali Yuga, to reverse the degradation of this age. And this disease is just one small symptom of the age of Kali. And so if the chanting of Hare Krishna can reverse the effects of Kali, then certainly it can also help in fighting, this pandemic that we're in the midst of now. And how the chanting of Hare Krishna can actually alter the material situation, Srila Prabhupada explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 4th canto, in the pastime of King Vena. So, Vena was a very evil and vicious king. He was very demonic, and, he stopped religious performances. He was just killing people willy-nilly, and it was just terrible. It just had to be stopped. And so the Brahmins, first they tried to, convince Vena to, be a good person and, be a responsible governor. But when that didn't work, they just chanted mantras and they finished them off that way. So in the purport, I made a note of the verse. Yeah, 4:14:12, Srila Prabhupada writes, instead of taking part in politics, saintly persons should engage in chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya, by simply chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the general populace can derive all benefits without political implications. So before that, in the early part of that purport, he was talking about how often political situations in the world today are corrupt, are, just not favorable for living a nice life in the material world. So, but Srila Prabhupada said that devotees don't need to get actively involved in politics, they just need to chant Hare Krishna. And just by doing kirtan or sankirtan, then the reverberations of the Maha Mantra will go, around the world and change things, actually change the heart of individuals. And also because it's so pleasing to the Lord, because this is the process. Like, in former ages, kings would do these huge yagyas, like Maharaj Yudhisthira performed the Rajasuya sacrifice, not to get anything for himself, but just mainly for the benefit of humanity, for the benefit of the entire human society. So in the same way, we have to perform sacrifice for the benefit of human society. And our sacrifice is Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā chapter 3, he says, be thou happy by this sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So, sometimes when things like this happen, we can feel helpless. We can feel like the situation is beyond our control. And in one sense, it is. But in another sense, we're not helpless. Because by performing the sacrifice of chanting the holy names, we can really, Krishna says, we can attain everything desirable for living happily and peacefully. Because when we please Krishna, then it's like watering the root of the tree. It's not just that you please Krishna and then it stops there. Krishna's happy, fine, But actually, it's like watering the root of the tree. That that the branches, the leaves, the twigs, everything is nourished. So in the same way, by pleasing Krishna through this Sankirtan Yagya, chanting of the holy names, then all the various problems of the world become mitigated, and things become peaceful. Not just spiritually, but in every way. And we can read about this also in the Bhagavatam, how when there were pious kings who were performing their religious duties, who were performing sacrifices for the benefit of others, that really the situation, even though it was the material world, was wonderful. There was no crime. The earth was producing everything abundantly. There was rain, regular rainfall. It wouldn't rain during the day, so people's work wouldn't be disturbed. It would rain only at night, and the weather was nice, and things like epidemics and natural disasters were practically unheard of because of just by performing sacrifice, by worshiping the Lord. And so we can actually recreate these kinds of scenarios, sort of heaven on earth scenarios, just by chanting the holy names purely. And we need to focus on chanting attentively and chanting offenselessly, because it's the pure chanting that has the power to do these things. And really calling out to Krishna. That's another thing that we can be grateful for now, is this opportunity to really call out to Krishna, because what else can we do, chanting the holy name and just call out to Krishna, and Krishna can do anything. So it's a perfect time to call out to Krishna, because for many people the reality is that it is a life or death situation. But then that's also another thing to be thankful for, because of course we all know theoretically that death can come at any moment, but who thinks that way? Who lives their lives that way? Most of us, like if you say you're going to die, yeah, of course I'm going to die, and I'm getting old, it's coming sooner than it was when I was 30 or whatever. But, still we just go on with our routine, not really thinking about it. So now in times like this, we start thinking about it. We think, well, if I get this thing, then maybe, and people are just very quickly leaving their bodies when they get this disease. So, it's good to actually live that way. It helps us to check our consciousness. Like, who was it, Maharaj Katvanga? After fighting on behalf of the demigods for so long, they offered him a benediction, and he said that I'd like to ask how much longer do I have to live? He said, you have 1 moment. He said, okay, then let me fix my mind on Krishna in this last moment. And he did, and then he achieved the spiritual destination. So we don't know, the poet Govindadas says, Kamala dalajala jivana talamala, that this life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus petal. Any little thing, zoop, it just rolls off and it's gone. So it's good to be conscious of that and to, live our lives as if this was our last day, and really, think of Krishna, focus on Krishna, prioritize Krishna. And so that's something to be grateful for, that Krishna created this situation to remind us of the reality of this world and to remind us of our duty, of our dharma, which is the supreme dharma. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshaje ahaitukiya pratiyata yayatma suprasidati. That the supreme dharma is devotional service to Lord Krishna. Yato bhaktir adokshaje. And specifically for Kali Yuga, it's the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So we should try to take this opportunity to chant more and more ahaitukiya pratiyata, without interruption, without any cause. Like, not that I have to chant. I chant my 16 rounds every day because I have to, but going beyond, anything that's motivated, and just doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. Doing it as a way of connecting with Krishna, taking shelter of Krishna, and also not only for ourselves, but to chant for the benefit of the world, to chant for the benefit of others, of our community, of our country, of the whole planet, of all humanity who are being affected at this time and who need relief from what is a very anxiety-ridden situation. And by that unmotivated and uninterrupted chanting will bring complete satisfaction and happiness to the self, to the soul, and to everybody who is touched by it. So those are some thoughts that I had on this topic. I'm sure that a lot of you have been discussing these points in the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure many of the speakers have been speaking things. I hope I haven't been totally redundant, but does anyone have anything they would like to add? Things that we can be grateful for. Madhumati.
You're mentioning about to do benefit for others.
Mm.
And I was thinking how the Narayana sages were performed into sacrifice in a forest, in this forest, for the people, for the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is that, we, for example, in all our temples, we do kirtans in the temple, or, like that. When we go out on Harina, we know that you're chanting with everybody there. But my question is that when we're doing kirtan right here in the temple, what kind of effect does it have for the rest of the world? Because it is a yajna we're doing, but it's in closed doors, so to speak.
Mm.
So does that also benefit for everybody else besides those who are?
Yeah, definitely. Because, like I was saying, even if they don't hear our chanting, but it creates an energy. Like when Lord Chaitanya was on the planet, it didn't just affect people that Lord Chaitanya met personally, or even people in India, but we can see that at that particular time, all around the world, the consciousness of everyone on the planet practically was uplifted. Like in Europe, there was the whole Renaissance, there was the whole Baroque music that was like music that was composed as an offering to God. It was all like simultaneous with Lord Chaitanya's appearance on the planet. And there was like discovery. That's when, like, the discoverers were going out. It's when like the consciousness of people all over the world was like expanding. And it may not have been in a directly Krishna conscious way, but it was like there was a lot of positivity and enthusiasm. It was just really upbeat, because of Lord Chaitanya being here. So in the same way, when we chant, it creates a vibration. It literally creates a sound vibration, but it also creates an energy, a positive energy, a joyful energy that affects, it spreads, I don't know how to explain this, but it's very subtle, it's very subtle and transcendental, but it creates this spiritual energy and joyfulness in connection with Krishna that's very powerful, and that it affects others. That's one way. And then the other way, like I was also saying, is that Krishna is pleased by it. So when Krishna is pleased, then he blesses not only the chanters, but everybody's affected by that blessing. Just like when it rains, the rain it affects the farmers, but it also, like, it's good for everybody, even the rain falls on asphalt or falls on stone or something, but everything gets wet. So in the same way, when Krishna gives his blessings to the devotees, those blessings kind of overflow and affect everybody. So like during the time of Maharaj Yudhisthira or Maharaj Parikshit, there was no crime in the kingdom. There was no, there were no pandemics going on. And so it's not that everybody was super religious or a pure devotee like Maharaj Parikshit. There were people who were just ordinary people, kind of mundane consciousness. But they were getting the benefit of living in this kingdom that was like heaven on earth. Right? Like when Lord Ramachandra was the king, everybody talks about, the glories of Raja Ram, the kingdom of Lord Ramachandra. But there were people there, right? There was that one person that even criticized Lord Ramachandra. So his consciousness was not very elevated. He didn't even appreciate that Lord Ramachandra was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But still he was living in the kingdom and he was getting all the benefits of Raja Ram. So, and Prabhupada said that if, I think this is written somewhere in one of his purports, that if even 1%, I don't know if it said 1 or if a small percentage, or if he said 1% of the population of the earth, planet becomes Krishna conscious, the whole situation of the earth will change. Just 1%. It's a very small percent. So that means that our Krishna consciousness is profoundly affecting others on the planet. And so we should, the way that we can help, like, they say that the way you can help your family members, because some of us feel sad that our family members are not devotees, maybe they're antagonistic to Krishna consciousness, and, they're not going to listen to us because we're their family members and whatever. So, but we know that the best thing we can do for our family members is just to try to become pure devotees. Because if we go back to Godhead, then, 7 generations or 21 generations or whatever, which one, there's a few different numbers given there. But many generations before and after us are going to get liberated. So these are, the scriptures talk about how one person's Krishna consciousness has huge positive benefits for many others, even if they're not connected with it directly. Yeah, it's very powerful.
I see it as like a super love Wi-Fi, the whole planet. Krishna, there's no saying what the planet would be, just a dusty bowl of like chemical soup if there wasn't for this love permeation. Like you said, that this is, it's all good. That we wouldn't know the gratitude to have around what it is to not have this.
Yeah.
Just pull this out of the equation, that we might as well go camp on another planet somewhere, because this is just a poisonous existence without the atmosphere of love.
Yeah. Yeah, recently I was having a conversation with some devotees about what it means that a devotee is paradukha dukhi. That paradukha dukhi means that you feel sad to see others suffering. And so one person was saying, well, but there's so much suffering in the world that if we're going to be paradukha dukhi, then aren't we going to be depressed? If we're going to be sad to see the suffering of others, then we're just going to be so sad. We're going to be deeply sad. And then, so then someone said that it's not like that. It's not that you become, depressed in a mundane sense, but you empathize with their suffering, but because a Vaishnava is connected with Krishna, then they're not affected by the duality. Like, you feel bad that the person is suffering, but you don't feel bad yourself. But you can, by connecting with Krishna, who's, Rama, the source of all pleasure, that we can remain a source of positivity and joy for others. So instead of just kind of like wallowing in lamentation or whatever with everybody else, or getting, caught up in panic and fear like everybody else, we can just take these opportunities to connect closer to Krishna and be recharged with the positivity and the joy that comes from connecting with Krishna. Because, devotional service is joyfully performed. Susu kam kartam abhyayam. So as long as we're serving Krishna, we're going to be joyful no matter what's going on, and we should try to give that joy to others. Try to be a source of joy and solace for others who are not able to connect directly with Krishna, but may be able to connect with us. Something else? Mother Ragatmika, you have to say something because it's your birthday.
It's all good.
Jai. Okay. Yes, teacher.
I was thinking one other thing is that, like you were just saying, you don't really feel bad, but that also can be an impetus to do something.
If you do feel bad, you mean?
Yeah, not necessarily mundane way, but by following stricter yourself, or applying the process in a better way,
Mhm.
then you can affect those people as well.
That's right, yeah.
It's like a springboard to get your meaning sometimes.
Yeah, because sometimes we're more, if I think I'm just going to do, like, if you live alone, or, let's say your family are away and it's just you in the house, you're not inspired to cook, right? It's like cooking for yourself is, of course, everybody cooks for Krishna, but even so, when I'm alone, I'm just like, couldn't be bothered. I'll just make a little khichdi in the morning and eat that all day, I would never do that when my family's there, then it's 3 meals a day and just try to make something nice to make them happy and stuff. But if it's just me, it's like, yep, khichdi, and I'll just eat the same khichdi 3 times a day. So sometimes with our spiritual lives too, if we become too, absorbed in kind of just like our own little selves, then we can think, oh, well, I know I need to read, but, I'm okay, it's all right. Or I know I need to chant better, but if it's just for me, then... But then when you start thinking that, no, my chanting is not just for me. My chanting is for the whole world, for all the people who are suffering in the world, for people who are just like going around and around in this terrible, nightmarish Ferris wheel of the cycle of repeated birth and death. And my chanting is for them. My chanting is to try to purify the atmosphere of Kali Yuga so that people can somehow come in touch with a little ray of Lord Chaitanya's mercy through me. Yes, now that I got me inspired now.
In the 5th canto, in a purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes the line from the Nrsimha prayer, Bahir Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimho, and he translates that by saying, let Lord Nrsimhadev sit within the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean, so that I may peacefully worship the Lord, and thus bring peace to the entire world.
Beautiful.
So by our execution of devotional service and becoming purified, it's bringing peace to the entire world. It affects.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, so we really, it's something nice to meditate on. How my Krishna consciousness is actually bringing peace to the world. Just by consciousness alone. It's not even necessarily what I do. It's just my consciousness. Just cultivating a consciousness of Krishna, and remembering Krishna. And that's what Krishna wants us to do, man mana bhava mad bhakto. Just think of me, always think of me, become my devotee. He's not asking a lot. And by remembering Krishna at the time of death, we go back to Krishna. And there's so much about, just remembering Krishna. Think of me. And we are the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So we really need to cultivate this consciousness of Krishna. And by that consciousness, peace and joy and, love that's coming from Krishna, we become like a conduit. Because Krishna is the source of all those positive things. And when we're conscious of Krishna, we become like plugged in. Then we can become like a live wire that's bringing all these, positive feelings and hope to others.
What is that one prayer? I think it's Prahlad Maharaj, and he says something, and then they'll think of the welfare of others. What is that?
Yeah, he says something like, let all envious people be pacified, and who knows that verse? And, yeah.
And then they'll think of the welfare of others, and the world will become a peaceful place.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, it's really, I think it's a very important key, somehow I've always been, I've had the good fortune of always being sort of connected with preaching service, and so I've always had this meditation that my life is for others, that I live for helping others come to Krishna consciousness, and it's really kept me going, in devotional service. It's kept up my enthusiasm and, to do my sadhana really focused and regulated, so that I can keep strong. You know, if you look at devotees who are going out in book distribution every day, it's like, you really got to focus on your sadhana. It's like that's your strength is coming from that, and then you're just like building up you're just like, how do you say it? I don't know. You're kind of just empowering. You're building up power so that when you go out, you can, distribute that. Bhakti, whatever. Yeah, you're just like absorbing bhakti from Krishna during the morning program, and then it's time to go out and just release it all on everybody. So, yeah. So I think those are the two keys here, that to be Krishna conscious and to meditate on how we as individuals can really help others by being Krishna conscious, and using that as an impetus to become more Krishna conscious. And to be grateful for whatever happens, all situations are the mercy of Krishna, who's always trying to bring us closer to him. Okay. Thank you very much for being such good listeners and participants. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.